Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to do something pretty cool. We're going on a special tour, shrinking way, way down to explore a microscopic city that's the building block for every single living thing on Earth. Ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, just think about that for a second. A whole working city with a government, power plants, factories, roads, everything, and it's all smaller than a single grain of sand. Well, believe it or not, that's exactly what a cell is. It's a tiny, super busy metropolis of life.
Now, all the special buildings and departments inside this city have a name, organelles. That's a really important word for today, organelle. Each one has a very specific job to do, and they all have to work together perfectly to keep the city humming. All right, so let's officially start our tour and get to know the layout of this incredible tiny city. First thing you need to know is that our city comes in two main models. You've got your plant city and your animal city. The plant city is built tough, with a really strong outer wall, its own solar panels for energy, and one giant storage tank. The animal city is a little more flexible. It doesn't have that outer wall, and it has lots of small storage units instead of one big one. So all the buildings in our city, all those organelles, are floating around in something called the cytoplasm. You can think of it like the ground, the air, and the rivers all rolled into one. It's this thick, gel-like goo that fills up the whole city, holding everything in place and protecting it. Okay, next stop, let's head over to the command center. I mean, every city needs a leader, right? And it definitely needs power. So who's in charge here and how does everything stay on? Well, the boss is the nucleus. This is basically City Hall. It holds all the city's most important documents, the blueprints for everything, which we call DNA. The nucleus sends out all the orders, controlling everything from growth to making new things. It's the brain of the whole operation.
And to keep the lights on? For that, we have the mitochondria. These are the city's power plants. They take in fuel, like sugar, and they convert it into pure energy, called ATP. And that energy powers every single thing happening in the entire cell city.
You're going to hear this phrase a lot, and for a really good reason. If you remember one thing about mitochondria, make it this. They are the powerhouse of the cell. Without them, the whole city would just shut down. No power, no nothing. Now, remember those plant cell cities? They have an extra cool trick for getting power. They have their own solar panels called chloroplasts. This means they can make their own food just by using sunlight. How awesome is that? It's super efficient. Okay, so we've got a leader and we've got power. Now the city needs to actually make things and send them where they need to go. So welcome to the industrial district of our cell city. This is the city's assembly line for making proteins. And proteins are the building blocks for almost everything. Here's how it works. First, City Hall, the nucleus, sends out an order. Step 2, these tiny little factories called ribosomes get to work and build the protein. Step 3, the new protein travels along a highway system called the ER, where it gets modified and finished up. And finally, it arrives at the Golgi apparatus, the city's post office, where it gets sorted, packaged, and shipped out in little delivery trucks called vesicles. So, to put it simply, it's a perfect team. You've got the factories, the highways, the post office, and the delivery trucks. They all have to work together perfectly to get the job done. For our last stop on the tour, let's check out how the city protects itself, where it stores all its supplies, and, of course, how it keeps everything clean and tidy.
You know, every city needs some border control, and that's the job of the cell membrane. It's like a big security gate that goes all the way around the city. It's really picky. It carefully checks everything, letting good stuff like food in and kicking bad stuff like waste out.
And hey, remember our plant cities? Well, they have extra security. On top of that membrane, they have a thick, super strong cell wall. This gives them a fixed shape and provides some serious protection, almost like the Great Wall of a castle. A city also needs warehouses, right? In the cell, these are called vacuoles. They store all kinds of things: water, food, even waste products. And like we mentioned, those plant cities have one absolutely enormous central warehouse, mostly for storing water. So what about all the garbage? That's where the lysosomes come in. These guys are the city's recycling and sanitation crew. They go around the city using special chemicals to break down any trash, old broken parts, or even harmful invaders. They basically keep the city sparkling clean. And that brings us to maybe the most important idea of this whole tour. Not a single one of these organelles, not one of these buildings, works alone.
They're all part of a perfectly coordinated team.
You see, it all comes together in this perfect system. The nucleus gives the orders, the mitochondria provide the power, the ribosomes build things, the Golgi ships them out, and the membrane protects the whole city. For this city to work, every single organelle has to do its job.
It might seem really, really small, but understanding how this tiny city works, well, that's the key. Because every living thing, from the tiniest bug to the biggest whale and even you, is made up of these incredible little cities. So, I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If the power plants suddenly go out, or the security gates fail, or the boss just stops giving orders, what do you think happens to the entire city? It really shows you just how important teamwork is, even at the smallest scale imaginable. Thanks for joining me on the tour.